What's up, gamers? This is Proto from Average Gamers, and I wanted to show you guys some gameplay of Star Wars Battlefront 2 and just give you my thoughts on the game. Now, to give you guys a quick disclaimer, this is just from the multiplayer beta. This is the beta that was out over the previous weekend. This is just my thoughts on it. This is what the complete game is going to be, hopefully. Now, with all that said and done, I got a chance to play on the beta for the weekend, and it was pretty interesting. Now, I played a little bit of the previous Star Wars Battlefront, and it was okay. Had nothing against it. I just feel like it needed more content. It needed more content and it needed a campaign. That was pretty much it. And they are promising to fix those wrongs in this one. So basically, this one is going to have a campaign. It's going to have a multiplayer when they're saying it's going to have more worlds is going to be on, more vehicles, and all that. And we shall see all that. Now, campaign wise, this is supposed to take place, the events in this is supposed to take place between what happened in The Last Jedi and The Force Awakening. And if you can't remember that far back, basically that's when the Emperor died, and these are the events that happened between the Emperor dying and the Force Awakening, which was now the First Order. So basically, you play as an Empire soldier, and you are doing these special tasks and missions to basically save the Empire. Unfortunately, it's because it was a multiplayer beta. They didn't have any levels of the campaign open, so we couldn't play any of it. I was kind of hoping to see how the campaign would play out, see how the storyline would be a little bit, but we shall see on that. Now, beforehand, before we get any further, just gotta let you know all this gameplay is being shot off of an Xbox, and me personally, I've been known about this game coming out for a long time. It wasn't on my list to get the day it comes out, but you know, after playing the beta, it's not bad. I do like it, but I'll come back to that. Now, basically, beyond the campaign, you have the multiplayer in the arcade. Now, the arcade is very interesting because the arcade has a bunch of different modes, and it's also a way to train and get adjusted to playing in the Star Wars world. So if you never played the first Battlefront, it's a good way to get accustomed to the weapons, the abilities, the heroes, and everything in it. Now, during the arcade, you had a solo and a co-op that you could choose from. So I thought that was nice that you can actually play split screen on the arcade mode. It was nice that they actually thought about doing that, because you know a lot of games don't do co-op anymore, or if they do, it's online. So it's interesting to see that you could do a co-op split screen. Now, as far as the modes they will let us play in arcade, it was only battle scenarios, and they're basically ways to teach you how to play the multiplayer. And I probably spent about a good 30-40 minutes in it, getting used to the classes, trying out each class, the weapons, their abilities, and seeing how they played out, and using the heroes also. And the other two modes they had, but we couldn't play, was custom arcade and tutorial. And tutorial is basically teaching you how to do everything in the game. And they had the custom arcade, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's basically you get to create your own gameplay, your own mode. How smart or how dumb you make the AI. You know, basically creating your own game. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought that was nice for them to add that in there. So beyond the arcade and beyond the campaign, you have the multiplayer, where a lot of people will be spending their time in this game. Now, they have 5 modes, but they only let us play 3 at this time. And those 3 are Galactic Assault, which is basically a defense and offense mode, where basically if you're on defense, you're trying to keep the enemy from moving forward. If you're offense, you're trying to push all the way to an objective. And those were interesting matches. With them being up to 40 players, it gets very intense, especially at the last minute. The second mode they let us play was Starfighter Assault. This was up to 24 players, and this is your basically your dogfighting mode. You want to fight in the legendary TIE fighters, the X-Wings. This is the mode for you. And they got pretty fun. Once you got past the learning curve of them, it was fun flying them. I probably spent about an hour, maybe, no, not an hour. I spent about 2 hours just doing Starfighter Assault because they were just so much fun. And the other mode they let us play was Strike. And those were interesting because it's basically you get this set of objectives and you got to either try to steal the mode they let us play, if you was the First Order, you were trying to steal this artifact and bring it back, and if you was the Rebels, you were trying to keep them from getting it. So it's kind of based like a game of like keep away. You're trying to keep them from taking it. If they drop it, then it gets reset and you have to do it all over again. Now, what was interesting about all three of these modes was there's only a certain amount of times that you can respawn. So that plays in a major role into these games. Because, like for Galactic Assault, for any of them, you don't necessarily have to hold it to an X amount of time. If you make them run out of respawns, they just lose the game. And that's interesting. Like, it really made a big difference. Because in Starfighter Assault, when because for that mode, you're the rebels trying to destroy a Star Destroyer, and if you're the Imperial forces, you're trying to protect it. When I played the Imperial forces one time, what we did was, instead of protecting the objectives, we was attacking them, dogfighting them, and basically killing them nonstop and forcing them to respawn so many times that they ran out of respawns and they had to give up. So it definitely could come in. I mean, that factor alone can make a big difference because, like I say, if you got a good group, you might be able to defend the whole area from them. But if you could make them respawn, you won't have to worry about the defending the area. Now, with each of the modes, the entire game is played in a class system, and the class systems are pretty well balanced. For the ground forces, you basically have the assault, heavy, officer, and specialist. And basically, a brief description: the assault is like your frontline soldiers. They're the ones that have the assault rifles. They're going head first. The heavies are like what you can imagine. They have heavy machine guns. They have extra armor, extra shields, and they can lay down a lot of fire. The officers, which was kind of interesting to me, they're the support class. So they can actually like heal forces. They could put out little turrets. And they actually add a little boost. And it was kind of interesting because they just run around with a little pistol. So I didn't think they would be that strong, but going against an officer or two, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I just wouldn't take them easily. And then the specialist was basically your sniper class. Now, I used it a little bit, and it's not bad at all. I'm not a big sniper, but from what I saw, if you are a good sniper, that will be the class for you. Now, beyond that, for the starfighter part, you have the fighters, the bombers, and the interceptors, and they're basically like how they sound. The fighters are the all-purpose fighters, like imagine X-wing or TIE fighters. Then you've got the bombers, which are basically the bombers of fighters, and the interceptors were kind of like the fast-paced, hit-and-run type ones. Now, beyond that, you still have the heroes that you can use, that you can get, and you have special vehicles or special units that you call in on the ground. And how those played in was basically you got battle points, and as you took out enemies or you secure objectives, you got battle points. And you got enough battle points, you could call in a special unit or call in this hero. And depending on which one you called in, you can only use it for a certain amount of time or until you die, whichever one happened first. And they made a major difference, especially if you call them in at the right time. Now, with With all that being said, you have you have a card system. They can give your units a boost in abilities or weapons, and you name it. Now, and also with that, you can actually customize the weapons to a certain extent. You can actually add attachments to them that you would have to get parts to craft, and they give you an added boost or help you out depending on how you play. So I thought that was pretty nice of it. Now we're talking about the cards. They could boost you in getting craft parts. That leads into the next part. Loot boxes. Yes, loot boxes are in this game, and thankfully, from what I've seen, it's all in-game currency, and it's in-game currency you get from completing matches, completing challenges, things like that. Hopefully, it does not change to where it uses actual money, because I've said this before. I don't believe in pay to win. I don't believe pay to win. I personally don't like loot boxes in a sense, because that's just an open way for money to be used. But I'm not gonna go off subject. But yes, loot boxes are in this, and so far from what I've seen, you use in-game currency to open the loot boxes, and the loot boxes are how you get your cards and your crafting parts, and you'll have rarity of cards, and you can get like I said, craft parts to craft attachments for your weapons. So hopefully it does not mess up the game. If it does, hopefully it does not mess up the game too much, and I will leave that there. Now, beyond that, the career part was basically how you progress into the game, because as you complete objectives, you boost up, you rank up, you get higher, you get to unlock more abilities, more things that you can do. Now, that was basically the gist of the game. Gameplay wise, graphics are very good. It's very smooth. Didn't have any major issues hopping into matches. Matches started up pretty fast. Like I said, with the fact that you can only respond so many times, you have to be careful with it. You can't just respond infinite times that the match is over. You actually gotta play a little bit smarter, and it kind of makes you play as a team, which isn't bad at all. Um, like I said earlier, the respawning really comes into effect, because another example I saw was when we was playing the Galactic Assault, and we was the clone troopers, and the droids had got all the way into the palace, and if they took over the throne room, we would have lost, and it got into overtime. So basically, they kept trying to knock us out, and we had to respond, and our responds were dropping down so low. And what we ended up doing was everybody went to a heavy class, because it has extra armor, extra shields, and we have heavy weapons. We went into the room. We had our overshields on. Some of us had our overshields while someone was behind us. We took the blunt of the damage and took out as many as we could. And the ones behind us pulled their ultimates out, which is like rotating a machine gun, and laid fire and cleared out the room. And that's how we ended up winning, pushing out through overtime. So it does get intense. Anytime you see overtime, get ready to fight and get ready to move. But overall, from what I've seen from the beta, it's very nice. I have no major issues, no real bugs, no major glitches from my end. Most glitches I did see was just like trying to get back to the main screen, and I kept backing out, and it wouldn't let me get out at first. But other than that, it was very good. Like I said, the graphics were nice. Like I said, all this is being shot on the Xbox One, and it was nice on my TV. I can only imagine how it would look on a 4K TV. It'll probably look very crisp, very smooth. But gameplay wise, it was good. Like I said, the matches were intense. It was fun. Never really got bored of playing the modes, switching them up. Each one had their own level of difficulty, but also their own level of fun. So hopefully the other two modes they add into it will be good. Hopefully, like I said, we will have more planets to explore, more things to do on the planets. I hope it turns out. Now, back from what I said previously at the beginning of this video, I had known about the game well before it was supposed to come out. and it was on the radar, but it was not one of the games I said that I'm going to get the day it comes out. And I have to play in the beta. I'm still not set dead on getting it when it first comes out, but I'm leaning towards getting it probably very soon. Probably very soon after it comes out. So I'm gonna leave the video at that. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. I am Proto, and I will catch you guys later.